School Board into session. Before I ask for approval of the agenda, I have a favor to ask of the board. We have a time-certain agenda item at 6 o'clock, our public hearing. Based upon how staff reports are going, I would like the flexibility to perhaps take other items that are on the agenda later, so we're not taking a staff report and breaking it into two parts. Is that acceptable? With that, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
I move approval of the agenda with flexibility. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries. We didn't have anybody signed up to address the audience, although we have lots of fine folks that are going to be sharing great information with us this evening. So we'll jump right to staff reports. Laura.
I wouldn't take it personally if you gave me a dead battery. This feels like the beginning of the year still, kind of. But we've got high school in conferences this week and next week. Middle school the following week. We're past midterm, which is a really long way of saying I don't have a report. This is Lynette Crispin. She's a counselor at Ben Franklin. And she's the treasurer for FEA.
Well, thank you for a short report, because we probably have a full agenda anyway, and welcome. With that, we'll move on to a report from Trollwood Performing Arts School. Kathy.
Well, thank you for having me here tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you. We had, let's see if I can figure out how to do this real quick here. All right. Well, 2017 was a great year for Trollwood Performing Arts School and for Blue STEM Center for the Arts. 2017 actually represents our 39th year, our 39th anniversary, so we're going into that big 40 birthday party here next summer. So for 39 years, thousands of young people have spent their summers learning, growing, and making friends at Trollwood. The three organizational priorities identified as the core of our business plan for Trollwood and Blue STEM include the following: providing high-quality arts education, presenting high-quality entertainment, and serving as a community events center. Today, we offer 12 youth arts programs for students from ages 6 all the way through graduated seniors. Trollwood enrollment in 2017 included 1,241 students and 1,866 learning opportunities, operating our programs at a 98% capacity. Many of our students participate in more than one program, so individually we served 748 students this year, which is actually a record enrollment for any students, or for students served in any given year at Trollwood, so that was really exciting. This year, all totaled, our students received 79,432 hours of arts instruction. Our student body is made up from students from throughout the Fargo-Moorhead area and beyond. 40% of our students are from Fargo Public Schools. The second largest population of Trollwood students are from West Fargo, making up 28% of our student body, with 12% of our students from Moorhead Public Schools. With the vast majority of our students coming from the Fargo-Moorhead, West Fargo communities, we do have students joining us from as far away as Connecticut, several students from the Minneapolis area, and one of our students from as far away as Austria, who's also hoping to return in 2018. In 2017, we offered 4 full performance opportunities for elementary, middle school, and high school students. These included our Trollwood Children's Theater for elementary students, presenting Susical Kids. This program is available for elementary schools in the area to join with us as partners and together provide an incredible after-school enrichment program. We're currently working with the Moorhead schools who are looking at picking this program up and doing it as an after-school program for possibly this fall and also in the spring. So we're really excited about that. Our Totally Trollwood musical is for our middle school students. We produced Madagascar Junior in July and August of this past summer. The Actors Collaborative Theater, which we refer to as LAB, is a non-musical performance opportunity, and we presented All in the Timing in July and August. And in addition to All in the Timing, Kevin Kennedy, who was our director, actually wrote several of the sketches that we did for that program, and he did an amazing job. He's a very talented guy. And of course, our main stage musical, which is for high school, we did the musical Beauty and the Beast. 131 young people were involved in the creation of Disney's Beauty and the Beast. For the second year in a row, we broke the record for the largest attended show in the history of Trillwood. That was, we had 28,608 audience members that attended 12 productions of Beauty and the Beast. In addition, we broke the single night attendance for a Trillwood show and an all-time high attendance for one night at the beautiful amphitheater at Blue Stem. We had 3,309 audience members attending on Friday, August 1st. And that was due to the fact that Dr. Schatz helped open up the doors to get some bleachers on the back of the hill, which added capacity. Otherwise, we never would have been able to have that number of people attending on one night of the Main Stage Musical. And we actually ended up turning some people away that night. So it was a very popular performance with very talented students. In addition, Trillwood offers a full array of performing and production arts classes, workshops, and leadership opportunities for all age groups. This includes 56 classes at all levels of performing and production arts, including technical theater for both the middle school and the high school ages through our Totally Trillwood and Trillwood academies. Our Trillwood Conservatory provides arts-intensive opportunities in film, dance, acting, and musical theater for our upper-level students. And our student leadership program provides students the opportunity to be assigned a position to work side by side a professional artist in the student's field of interest. Participants are assigned a mentor, and they receive hands-on learning in areas like stage management, directing, choreography, and even administrative opportunities such as marketing and programming. And I actually have one student who's actually doing an internship. She's actually from West Fargo, and she's doing that with me right now, so that's fun too. So for our elementary students, we offered 14 sessions throughout the summer, each a week long, and that is for our Art Spark program, where students learn basic skills in singing, acting, and dance, ending the week with a performance to show off their new and improved skills to their parents, their grandparents, their aunts, uncles, and all their friends. Through Spark Music, we offer elementary students participated in a specially themed workshop designed to encourage a love and understanding of music, which also serves as a tool to build confidence and creativity within its young participants. A program that integrates through all of our programs is called our STAR program, which stands for Students at Risk. No child is ever turned away from a program at Trillwood for their inability to pay, which is something our STAR program makes possible. It also brings mentors to students. It provides meals, it provides transportation, and instructional supplies for those students in need. This is a national award-winning program that began in 1997 and continues today as a result of the generosity of our donors. Another aspect of what we manage at Trillwood is overseeing all things that happen at the beautiful venue of Blue Stem Center for the Arts. In addition to the venue of Blue Stem Center for the Arts being utilized for school arts curriculum and activities, we are also proud to host public performances by other arts groups, exhibitions, community festivals, corporate retreats, conferences, and other private rental opportunities, including numerous weddings. In 2017, we've continued our tradition of joining together with our partners in the community to bring high-quality entertainment options to the stage at Blue Stem. In 2017, we teamed up with Jade Presents for the 9th year running. We've enjoyed another amazing summer concert series featuring nationally renowned recording artists from numerous genres of music. All totaled, Blue Stem will have hosted 14 concerts by mid-October. Actually, tonight there's a concert, so I'm going to be going back to Modest Mouse, happening in this beautiful rainy day that we are having. And in addition to all of that, we were so happy to once again host the 7th annual Symphony Rocks at Blue Stem once again in August. It's always fun to hang out with Linda and her team. Trillwood employed 129 staff members in 2017, with 60% of our employees hired from our local community. As an educational institution, we train students in the arts, so it's always exciting to bring those students back and have them share with our current student body. And with that said, 26% of our workforce in 2017 were alumni of the program. One really quick story here. I just met with a young man who just graduated last year. It was his senior year, and he auditioned for the program for the very first time for our main stage musical this past year. And in talking with him, he called me and he asked me if we could have a conversation, and he just wanted to share his experiences at Trillwood this summer. And he had never participated before. He came, he auditioned, he landed a lead role. And he was fantastic, just an incredibly talented young man. And he told me, he said, the biggest regret he has is that he didn't do this for 5 years. He said he cannot believe how much his life was transformed just in those couple of months. And he said, I can't even imagine what my life would be like today if I had done this for 5 years. And that's just one story of hundreds of young people who experience so much at Trillwood because you make that happen. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for making these opportunities available for these young people. So thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
John?
No question. I just want to say thank you very much for your leadership out there. You're doing an awesome job, and I'm so proud of the Trillwood program. I'm so proud that we have this facility in our city and community, and I liked that you pointed out how many jobs this created and how, when we think about career and technical education, we think about welding, think about building homes, but if you watch the credits after a movie or read the liner notes of a CD, there are so many careers in the arts that are good careers. And this is part of that, and giving our kids a future.
Thank
in that.
you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. So I have 3 kiddos in the Fargo Public Schools, so I've seen marketing for some of your programs, but I am just curious, what is some of the most effective ways that you recruit kids to the program?
Well, I think our best recruiting method is the kids themselves, and that was loud and clear when I spoke with this young man, because he said students who have done the program for so many years kept encouraging him and saying, why don't you do this? So that is number one. And of course, we need to have the materials to get to those students as well. So we do create a brochure that we share with all of the schools across the region, really. And our website, we refer them to our website. We go into the schools, Fargo Public Schools in particular, especially the drama programs, and talk with the students about the opportunity. And oftentimes we'll take alumni into the schools with us so that the students can ask those who have gone before them and get a real life experience, like, why did you do that? And that's very powerful as well. So those are a few of the tools that we use. Yeah.
Well, as usual, Kathy, it's just wow. Because, when we started this journey 5 years ago, that presentation would have been about a minute long. And so I go out to quite a few of the events out there. The place is first class. It's run professionally. It's just fabulous. And that doesn't happen just by happenstance. Kathy has provided tremendous leadership out there, without a doubt. One of the best administrators I've ever worked with. And we're really lucky to have her in charge out there. So tremendous staff that you have. And the one thing I think that hits me every time is just the positive energy, no matter what the challenge is. It could be pouring rain, lightning out, thundering. I get a phone call from Kathy saying, what do you think we should do? And you always have it under control. It doesn't matter. And you're always positive about it. So it's just amazing. So kudos to you. Way to go.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm going to go rock and roll with Modest Mouse. Thank you.
So do you think 15 minutes is enough time? Okay. Our next presentation is from Patty Cummings, and I'd turn it over to Dr. Schatz for some introduction.
Okay, I'm very happy tonight to have this group of people with us. This is the Student Wellness Family Facilitator Program, obviously under the direction of Patty with their Student Services Program, and Patty being the director of that. And I'll make a couple comments when they're done, but I'm going to turn it over to Patty to introduce her group. And they got a little bit of a presentation to share with you about their results from 1 year now of their operation. So thank you, Patty.
Testing, okay, sorry, thank you. I thought I was loud enough as it was. So as Dr. Schott said, this is 1 year into our transformed program. If you recall, those of you who've been on the board and heard me speak about this a bit before, the inception of this began about 5.5 years ago when we worked with the Stephanie Getz Foundation to have our first social worker come into buildings and help administrators and counselors and teaching teams help decide what to do with some of the students that have faced complex challenges in their life. And so we are very grateful that this has continued. 1.5 years ago, we started putting together a plan where we could take existing monies and become a little bit more proactive in what we do and hire more staff to do this, and this is what we've done. I am very proud of the group that is behind me right now and that we'll be presenting to you tonight. We did build a plane in the air, and we said that a lot, didn't we, group? It was a challenge, but it was a great challenge, and I am so proud with what they have done and the work they have done. What you'll see, if a minute presentation is where Blue STEM would have been at, that was the same for us, and it's longer now because of all of the access that we've provided. And although I'm sure that the staff is going to be engaging, we have a student, former student who has come back to talk about it, and I think I heard her say that I was like the best principal she's ever had, so I was pretty sure that's what I heard come out of her mouth. So anyways, without further ado, I have, speaking for us, Amy Riccio and Bethany Zimmerman. Okay.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for having us tonight. I'm Amy Riccio, and I'll let Beth introduce herself when she does her segment of slides here. The first slide that we just wanted to let you know we're anchored at is our strategic plan, Initiative 5, all about the community outreach. And we're under that goal 6, where we have woven mental health, dropout prevention, and youth risk services. So those all three were somewhat separate entities, like Patty said, about 1.5 years ago. We wove them, tried to sort of weave them together, because it's really hard to tell what does come first. What we know is kids have things outside of school sometimes that they struggle with, and we need to provide some support with that. These slides just run through our expansion, I'll say. So I'm listed there first, and I'm student wellness and dropout prevention. And I describe it as I serve South High, Carl Ben, and all the elementaries that feed into that system. Sarah Bernstrom, do you want to just wave? She's my partner. She is pretty much rooted now at South High. Takes a few from Carl Ben, but what our goal is that we work in family systems. So if I have a referral of an elementary child, I will continue to work with them, and if they have an older sibling, they come along too, so that there's one person going into their family. If Sarah has a high school student and they happen to have a younger sibling that may have some struggles, she would pick them up as well. And we do the same throughout the district. North side, Jamie Benson, just want to wave. She covers North High, and then all of those schools that feed into North High. And Mary Kruger. She's been with us. She was previously more the risk youth or the outreach services before this all got congealed together. She's mostly at North High, does take some Ben Franklin and younger kids. The ones that are asterisked are because our schools aren't all directly feeding, as you know, so we go on what side or where they're going to go to high school. We try to stick with that plan. And then Davies, we have Beth. She's serving Davies Discovery, the elementaries that feed into that, and then Alexis Renas. She's at Davies and serves some students at Discovery. And depending on her clientele, may go to an elementary. So the role, what do we do? Well, in a nutshell, we provide a lot of coordination to services and resources. So we're going to get out there and sort of be the boots on the ground. We're going to do lots of face-to-face time with our students and our families, trying to alleviate any barriers that are getting in the way of school success. We collaborate a lot. We work a lot outside of our schools, collaborating with partnerships or other agencies to help support students so that they're sustainable, not just to graduate, but beyond graduation. We provide a lot of support towards learning and health and safety of students in general, not just in school, but in their communities. We provide prevention services, so some crisis intervention, home visits, lots of home visits, conflict resolution, especially in our high schools with some peer mediations that just kids don't know how to resolve those problems, and so they result to what they know. Help with insurance. This is a bigger issue than I ever dreamt it was. Lots of supports in our community and in our state, but people don't know how to access that. And so it does no good to have these services if they don't know how to get them. So lots of connecting and working with families with that, and facilitating team meetings at our schools, not just among our school teams, but bringing in the outside services so we all can partner together, because it takes a village. We do a social history. We usually initially when we meet with the families, and then it's an ongoing process. We do lots of referrals to resources, trying to connect them and helping them follow through. You can give families lists of services, but connecting and follow through doesn't always happen. So we try to help them do that. And then we do the chemical use education, so providing any education to students that may have some struggles with chemical use. So what a student wellness facilitator is not, often it's easier for me to describe it this way than to tell you the things we do. So 3 basic things that we are not. We do not diagnose children. We do not do diagnostic assessments. Those are left for the clinicians and the doctors in our community. We do not provide one-on-one therapy or counseling. We refer out to other providers for that. And we do not do chemical use assessment and or treatment. If they need that level, we refer out. This is just a quick snap of our referral form, so you can get a glimpse of this is what those that in our community or in our systems can refer. So those that can refer are school counselors, administrators, special ed coordinators, and school social workers. So they can get on the portal, district forms under teaching and learning, and it is a 1-page, yes, it is that easy, form to click, comes to our email box, and then we usually contact that referral source, talk with them, ask a few more questions, and then contact the parents. So it's very quick. Kirby helped us with our workflow and loves to help us collect our data and analyze. So we also, at the bottom left of the screen there, we have a Power School icon to help communicate with our teams in our schools. It's really hard to know who are you working with. We have the student that's struggling. Are they connected to you? They can quickly just go into their Power School and they'll see a graduation hat with some hands around it. And they'll see, if you click that on a student, it'll just say what SWIF or what student wellness facilitator they're working with and their contact, so their email and their phone number. So I will let Beth go through the data.
Get the fun stats. I understand that you have a multitude of our stats. We just wanted to highlight a couple areas for you. And as you can see here, last year we had a total of 486 referrals. That's 486 students. And that still may be a lower number because there may have been siblings within that family that aren't accounted for on here. So as you can see, 10th grade, we had a spike supporting those students. Referrals by grade levels. So this is an interesting slide. You can see that in the gray area, 56% referrals are coming from our high school. So with our program, of course, being new, we are hoping that that will actually get smaller in our elementary, which is represented in the orange at 29%. We will assume that that will increase possibly as well as the middle school, early prevention, so we can get these kids back on track and get them succeeding and graduating. And then our referrals based on how many of our students were getting special ed services and how many were not. So 70% of our students are not getting any services. So it's fantastic that we're meeting their needs because they're starting with nothing. Whereas our families that are with the special ed services, at least they've got a basis of support there. So we're really helping out those families that are in need. And this gives you a snapshot as far as what are the top reasons why we are seeing students. When we list mood, we are commenting on depression. And any struggles that may be going on in the family is a near second, along with anxieties and attention. Oh boy, this is smaller. Our number one referral source, we are referring families to therapy. We've got a lot of kids with a lot of trauma they need to be processing. It's hard for them to sit at their desk and focus on work if they haven't worked through some current or even past trauma. And then next is the medication, it's child protection reports. We are often making those. And medication monitoring is the top three. And I'll give it back to Amy.
And I just wanted to highlight last year our 2017 graduates. So this dips a little bit into the dropout prevention role that I have. We had 52 students referred to us as 12th graders. Last year, out of those 52, 36 graduated. 9 continued into their 5th year as a 12th grader, which in my eyes is absolutely okay. 6 dropped out and 1 transferred. And we are very fortunate, and I'm very proud to tell you that we have one of our graduates, Ashley, and she is going to visit just a little bit and read a little bit about what it was like for her and how this program helped her.
Go to the next one.
Yep, sorry.
This one. Okay. First, I wanted to give an apology beforehand. I'm really shy, and I hate public speaking. But everything Amy has done for me, this is the least I could do. Hello, my name is Ashley. I am a 2017 high school graduate of Fargo South High. My journey to graduation was not an easy one. Both my parents struggled with drug addictions. Due to addiction and bad relationships, my mom was not able to keep a job and we became homeless. My mom, 4 siblings, and I were homeless for 18 months. I met Amy at South High School the fall of my 10th grade year. Amy came to my hotel that we were staying at and was offering to help with whatever we needed so I could continue to attend school. At that point, my family was just trying to survive. In December, after I turned 16, I just decided I couldn't attend school and work full-time. I decided I needed to keep working full-time to help my family, so I dropped out of school. I told Amy my decision and that I would be back to finish when I was ready. Amy checked on me a couple times to see if I was ready. That following fall, I returned to South High to register for my classes. I met Amy and told her I realized I didn't want to work at my job forever and I wanted to get a high school diploma. But due to the fact that I was homeless and on my own, I needed a stable place to live. Amy and I talked about options and where I could live until I was 18. I was 14 months away from turning 18. At the time, there was not any family members that were an option, and I didn't want to go into shelter care. Amy called Cass County Social Services, and I was able to go into kinship care if we could find an adult that was willing to get licensed to care for me. Amy said one of my previous teachers had agreed to foster me, so I found a new home. I enrolled as a 10th grader in the fall of 2015 at South High and regained my new life. There were many bumps along the way, including surgery on my ears due to my hearing loss, trying to manage my epilepsy with medications due to recurring seizures, having my wisdom teeth taken out, dealing with my younger siblings being placed in foster care, learning to live a normal teenage life rather than working full-time and going to school. Every time I thought things were finally on track, something would happen and pull me back down. My brother having emergency surgery and being life-flighted to Minneapolis, my mother going back to prison, my younger siblings being moved 2 times from their foster homes, my seizures, my best friend's baby passed away unexpectedly, and my grandma, the only person in my family who encouraged me that I could make it, got very ill and passed away at my house 3 months before I graduated. But there are so many people who helped me along this journey. Due to my hearing loss, I qualified for special education services. My case manager was Bambi. She always encouraged me and never doubted me. She helped me apply and get a scholarship to spend 1 week in New York at a summer camp for hearing impaired teens. Bambi encouraged me to go to college and stay in school. My foster mom gave me structure of a home, food, and clothing. She included me in her family unconditionally, always understanding and not judging. She helped me with my homework, and I got caught up on all my credits so I could graduate on time with my class. I was able to go to outside therapy with the help of this program. Amy also helped me set up all my appointments with my therapist and attended consistently. Amy also helped me with all the medical and dental appointments I had. I'm the first member of my family to graduate from high school and earn a diploma. I continue to work, live in my own apartment, and I'm attending college. Without the help of this program and Amy, I wouldn't have reached any of these goals. Thank you for providing the student wellness and dropout prevention in Fargo Public Schools. It has made my life. Thank you.
Good job.
Before you go on, and I do apologize, but we have a public hearing that has to start at 6 o'clock. How much more?
That's it.
Oh,
We're done.
no, you're not done. You're doing wonderful, wonderful work on a daily basis. So thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, go right ahead.
There's one person sitting back there that didn't get introduced. Jolene, you can raise, okay. She's one of our area service coordinators, works with the program at Prairie, works with our ED programs, and is also support vehicle for this group. So I just want to make sure that we recognize your great work too. So fabulous program. It's bad that we got to run so quickly with this, but the North Dakota School Board Association, I'll be doing your presentation there in front of about 500 school board members, talking about this program, the importance of this program, and you just heard first graduate of your generation, of your family, so that's fabulous. Thank you.
On behalf of the entire school board, we are about as proud as we can be of the group of people we are looking at right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
At this time, we are going to start our public hearing as required under state law regarding the property tax mill levy that the Fargo School District and obviously the other subdivisions of government levy on local property taxpayers. Before I ask if there are any members in the audience that would like to address the board, I do have a short kind of guidelines that I need to share. At this time, the board will open our public hearing, and we ask that each speaker who has signed up to address the board state their name and address for the record. If you have not signed up, there is a sheet on the podium. We would ask you to complete that so we can have the ability to contact you should the need arise. We would also ask the speakers to refrain from using this forum to criticize or complain about any specific employee by name. The board is interested in your comments and will listen carefully, but is not obligated to respond, nor will we be engaged in debate this evening. Your issues and concerns will certainly be taken into consideration as the board moves forward in its deliberations. Should you desire a written response to a specific question, you may certainly request it, and this evening, each speaker will be allocated up to 5 minutes on the clock. At this time, if anybody would like to address the board, please come forward to the podium. Seeing none, I guess we'll officially close this public hearing, and I again thank everybody for their patience. Our next staff report is an annual event where we get an update on what's been going on in the student activity area. Do you have an opening up?
Sure. And so, as you know, Todd Olson is our activities director. Denise Odegaard also oversees the fine arts portion of all of our extracurricular programs, plus some of the other programming that we have within our district. I believe Denise had to run to go do a conference call of some sort. So Todd is going to have the opportunity to go through her slides too. And we'll see how well he prepared. But as you know, this has become an annual report, and we keep refining it each year to try to give you a picture of opportunities and numbers of kids taking advantage of those opportunities in our district. So with that, I will introduce to you Todd Olson, a fabulous activities director also, and also sits on the national board for activities for across the United States. So very active throughout the region. Todd.
Thank you. As Dr. Schott said, Denise, as many of you know, is the president of the National Association for Music Educators. She had a conference call with her regional people that we front-loaded her slides thinking we might get to them at the beginning. So I will start with some of her information, probably not to the detail that she would provide, but we'll see where we end up. So here are, in the performing arts areas, our offerings for the theater area. See, pretty extensive at the high school level and a couple of things at the middle school. Here is a list of our productions for this year. South High is doing a play here at the beginning of November that is, from my understanding, an original work that looks at, David Wilhelmy was explaining this to me, a World War II era look at what happened during an interrogation versus what happened after the interrogation. And the author is actually helping prepare the students for the production. So kind of a unique thing. I believe it's the world premiere of that production. Again, a breakdown of our different activities. Notice guitar at Woodrow Wilson is a new thing. Kind of a neat start. Denise does a lot of work with the Learning Bank. You can see by grade level, each year, each grade has a different activity that they engage in. Everything from the first grade steel drum bands through the symphony to the Ukrainian dancers to some jazz band things. So quite a variety there. We also have a partnership with the Metropolitan Opera where they provide free tickets to a performance that is in a local theater here. So the kids get the experience of being at an opera event. Here she just did a breakdown of the various honors that our kids had. See, we have kids that perform at Carnegie Hall. We have kids that do a variety of things in the honors world. And once again, for the 14th year, we were recognized as one of the best communities for music education. Dr. Schatz, maybe you want to address this a little bit. I believe you and Denise are presenting.
Well, Denise, last year after we left the School Board Association meeting, I contacted Denise and said that asked her to research what it would take in order to get a presentation done at the North Dakota School Board Association. So she did, and she watched for when those applications came out. She applied with the title that you have there, and so she said, I'd be more than happy to do a presentation if you'd be willing to do it with me. And so I said, okay, go for it. And so she applied and we got it. So there will be a session at the National School Board Association on this topic, and she and I will be presenters at that session. So that's what this is all about. And Denise is also the president of the National Music Association group.
Yep.
So I mean, this is exceptional, and it's pretty cool. So she's going to be great at that and do a great presentation. I'll be window dressing.
All right, and here's where I was going to begin. I'm going to take you through a fairly quick review. You have all this information in your packet. I've been taking a lot of static from the technology department about my number of slides tonight, and I've been assuring them it won't be that long. Each May, we've been surveying our students. This is the second year that we did the student satisfaction survey. Again, our goal is to gain some feedback that's not wins or losses, not, oh, the concert was good or it was, you know, the play was good. It's to get a different type of data, and I think you'll see that we had 3,336 participants in the survey again this year. That's 2 years in a row over 3,000, so our schools are doing a wonderful job of getting kids to actually engage with the link that they're sent in their email and taking the time to do it. We try to keep it fairly short so that it gets completed by a high number. Okay, quick run through of some data. Again, we're about 80-20 in terms of kids saying that, yeah, I did participate in some co-curricular activity this year. Very similar, I think within a percentage point of last year's data. Again, slightly more females than males were our respondent group. Here's our breakdown by grade. Again, pretty good representation. By school, once again, fairly well dispersed. About 50% again of our respondents indicated that athletics was their primary area of participation. We asked them for one so that they choose their path of where they participate most. We have kids, obviously, that participate in all three of those areas. This is a response from our athletic participants. You'll notice a trend here in all three. Our number one reason for participating is it's fun. We continually have to remind the adults that are involved in activities that this is what it's all about. If it's not fun, we aren't doing it right. Even a higher percentage in the performing arts area. And then again in our academic activities and clubs, which we've grouped together in all these slides. I think that's so important. Every year at our coaches district PD, I go back to that slide and say, this is the number one reason for kids being involved in this activity is this better be fun. Again, connected and cared about. We broke it out by the three categories. You're going to see once again, just like last year, we're 90-some% agree or strongly agree with each of these statements. Our performing arts and our academic clubs and activities. Next area was, we asked the students, did your participation contribute positively to the development of your character? And again, we're 90-some% in all three of the areas. We're pretty proud of that. Citizenship, sportsmanship, respect, very similar. I felt safe. One of the things that we pride ourselves in is providing a safe environment for kids to participate in things. Again, all three groups. One of the biggest criticisms we hear of coaches is they don't communicate in a positive manner. Well, here we're in the mid-90% saying, my coach did, my director did, and my advisor did. Feel good about that. knowledgeable. Same type of data. We constantly hear from the work world, the business world, that we need people that can work with others. In the athletic world, it's being a good teammate. Here again, ability to work with others in the performing arts world. Then again, with the academic and club activities. This is one I always find interesting because you have two schools of thought that my participation takes away from the time I could be spending on homework versus I am more self-disciplined when I'm involved in something because I have to be structured. Here again, close to 90% agree that they're a better student because of their participation. Well over 90 here. Slightly over 90. The same thing in the other area. Here's a question that you suggested that we add to this year's survey, is instead of exiting students out of the survey when they say, no, we didn't participate, now we asked them, why didn't you participate? Majority said, not interested, no reason or other, but I thought the number of after-school job was smaller than I had anticipated. They're in activities outside of FPS. We know that we don't offer everything. Or they wanted to focus on their academics. So then we asked them, well, what outside of FPS did you engage in? Little over 400 of students chose none, meaning they did not engage in anything else. Now that's roughly an eighth of our respondents. Other responses, I think, are skewed a little bit towards middle school students because we don't have middle school soccer, but they have club soccer. We don't have hockey for most kids until they age out of bantams after their freshman year for most kids. So, you know, I don't know that a lot of this data on this slide was surprising. It's kind of what we expected would probably be the case. Our second measurable in the strategic plan is GPA. And once again, very similar to last year, our participants' GPA is higher than the overall and significantly higher than students who choose not to participate. In your packet, there's an activities honor roll. That's something I started years ago in Grand Forks, is just list all the good things that kids are doing. And I've asked each school to do that, and my assistant, Jenny, has worked out a Google document, so we're in a better format this year, but we asked the ADs, just keep it open, and when you see something, just put it in there, and at the end, we have a pretty significant list from our buildings. The other indicator is Team Scholar Awards. The North Dakota High School Activities Association, for every activity that they sanction, so that would be athletics, some music contests, small group music, speech, debate. For every team that has a 3.2 GPA or better, they give that team a Team Scholar Award. This year in the Fargo schools, we had 67 teams or groups that were team scholars. I looked back to last year, we had 61, so not a huge difference, but trending in the right direction. We'll see what we get next year. But that's pretty impressive when you see the list of, and I believe that's in your packet also, of all the different activities. We had a number of activities where all three high schools had Team Scholar Awards. We had a football team have a Team Scholar Award. That is very, very rare. North High football is on that list. For 100-plus kids to average a 3.2, that's impressive. I have not seen one before that I can recall. And the last thing I had in here was co-ops, and I put quite a bit more detail in your packet about who's participating in our co-ops, what schools are involved in our co-ops. Essentially, we have 5 different activities that we co-op in, and within those, like within gymnastics, we have a couple different flavors of co-op, as we do in wrestling. Some of those were done years and years ago and have just remained. Prior to this year, we also had a co-op with Kindred and Cross Country, which was with North. So they would theoretically drive past 2 of our schools to co-op with North. I looked into the history with Gary Mayo a little bit, and apparently he knew some parents way back when, and that co-op got started. And I think between the folks at Kindred and ourselves, we decided this doesn't make much sense for any of us anymore to have your kids driving all the way up to North Fargo to engage in the sport of cross country, which is pretty inexpensive to put on yourself. So we dissolved that co-op this past year. Little bragging here, all 3 of our comprehensive high schools received the first team, which is the highest level Safe Sports School Awards from the National Athletic Trainers Association. Our trainers go through a pretty extensive review of what we offer, how we take care of our kids, the things that we have available. And that's, as I said, that's as good as it gets in terms of the National Athletic Trainers Association. And I think relates back to the question we asked our kids, do you feel safe when you're participating? Well, we can't prevent every injury, but we have good people in place that take good care of things when they do occur. One of the other hats I wear is I'm the president of the Metro Area Tournament Committee, which is a nonprofit that all of our schools in the Metro have put together to manage the many state and regional tournaments that come our way each year. Here's a little listing of our just state championship events this year. That's a pretty daunting list. We also have numerous conference tournaments, region tournaments, and invitational tournaments that we host, but that's a lot of state tournaments in one community in one year. Lastly, thank you. We appreciate your support, and I think we have a lot of good people in our programs who are doing a lot of wonderful things. Be happy to take any questions.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I have a question. In the past, I've heard either you say or other people say that there's a set goal for participation at every level, or maybe each individual school, and that would be around, what, 90%? Maybe it's a national statistic, I don't know. Is that still?
That was part of the last strategic plan
Okay.
for the Fargo Public Schools.
Okay. And so are we still there? Is that still the goal?
We never got there, to
Okay.
be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I
Didn't
can
even
see.
get very close. We have the one graph there that has our percentages, and I found when that was a goal, there was a lot of things being done to inflate participation that we are no longer doing. So
Okay.
I don't know that we'll ever get there. I think that 80% to 20% that indicated in the survey that they did participate in something is probably more realistic for where we'll be at.
Okay. So are there current, like, strategic initiatives on an ongoing basis then to just continually, without setting the goal of 90%, encourage more kiddos to participate?
Oh, absolutely. I think all of our coaches would love to have more kids in their squad. And you see 70 kids come out for cross country, come out for track, those types of things. I mean, those sports aren't all fun and games. There's a lot of work involved, and we have some large programs. So I don't know of any coach who doesn't want more.
Very good. Thank you.
Oftentimes when we're hiring new coaches, what do you see as your biggest challenge? Increasing participation. That's number one.
Linda.
Well, great report. This is always such good information. Just before your presentation, we saw the dropout prevention, and we've talked over the years about how a student being in an activity is so helpful to guard against dropping out. Is there any kind of collaboration between the folks we just heard and activities folks? Is there some sort of meshing of those two things?
I would assume that there is in the high school and middle school buildings to get kids tied into something. Do we have a structured program for that? Not at this point. I just think back to my years as a high school coach, and, you know, the counselor would come by and say, you know, so-and-so might benefit from, and we have enough sports that are non-cut sports where there's opportunities for our Pied Piper coaches to increase participation.
Jeff?
The way I would address that one is that our activities coordinators that are in our high schools and middle schools are also assistant principals. And they directly work with the SWIFTS program because they're directly tied into the referrals that go on. And so between the principal, the assistant principal, and if their portfolio is activities coordinator, there is a direct link. And so I would suggest that a person like Dean Wilson, for example, over at CBE is always going to be looking for ways to get kids involved if in fact they're struggling, at risk, those types of things. And so I think organically that's happening just because of the structure that we have. And so those people are part of those teams. And so, but, you know, do we have a direct link to take some data and try to find data? Maybe that's something that we build on in the future. But right now, the system is set up for that to happen because we don't just have activities people sitting in an isolated office away from the main office of all the other things that go on with kids. So I think it's happening, definitely.
Go ahead, Brandy.
I do have a question on the coaches as far as like, is it required for them to be an educator to be a high school or middle school coach?
It is not required. I often say, in my perfect world, every head coach we have would be a teacher in the building they're the head coach at. Is that reality? No. It just isn't. We have wonderful coaches that are teachers in other buildings, and we have wonderful coaches that have very little background in education, so to speak.
Thank you.
Well, seeing no other questions, on behalf of the board, Todd, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Obviously, both at the activities levels that Denise is coordinating and that you're coordinating, huge strides that improve the lives of our children. And I want to really give you a shout out on that Safe School Award because I caught that in the paper and I just smiled to myself. So
That's good stuff, and our athletic trainers deserve the credit for that. They do the legwork to get all that done and get the paperwork done, and
we'll
but it's
pass
good.
along the board's appreciation to them if you would.
I certainly will.
Thanks. Looking at where the clock is, I think we'll take a 7-minute break and then we'll reconvene. No, we'll just do it all. I'd like to call this meeting back into session. And our next order of business is our consent agenda.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries. And I do want to make a note before we go into business. It's been a long time where we had a consent agenda without an HR addendum. But it must be because something big was happening in our HR director's life. Congratulations. That'll take us to our business section, and our first area of business is final approval of our budget for 2017-18. I'd reference you over to memo number 39. Just a couple of overviews from the president's chair, and then we'll open it up to any questions. I'm sure Brock would be in a position to answer. On the special assessment fund, there was a change from the preliminary approval, and it's mostly that we're going to pay off additional assessments based upon the funds that we have in correlation to the Ed Clapp property, I believe, which is where those additional dollars are going. No change to the mill levy. We're going to leave that at 1 mil. And we still have an adequate fund balance. Obviously, we'll have more specials coming from the north side of town that we know are going to come. We just don't know what they are. No change on the building fund or the special levy fund since our preliminary approval. Some changes in the nutrition and service budget area, mostly to reflect our final settlement on salaries, which got permeated out to all of the staff of Fargo Public Schools, and the benefit costs, and then the ultimate fund transfer between the nutrition services fund and the general fund. And finally, our general fund, again, some changes, mostly related to our final agreement and the salary and benefit line. Overall, we're still going to be coming up with a deficit operating budget, spending down some of our fund balance, which we've known since we originally put together our plan for what we felt we could do for teacher compensation for this year. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions anybody has and ask Brock if he could maybe handle those. And if there are no questions, we'd take a motion.
Jim,
Linda?
I move to accept the 2017-18 final budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? And I'm assuming that includes all of these budgets we just covered in the memo, right? Okay. Anne Marie, if you'd call the roll, please.
Goldenberg,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Rodenbiker,
Yes.
Ulrich,
Yes.
Ani,
Yes.
Benson,
No.
Boyd,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Motion carries. Second business item, monitoring of, Brock?
Mr. President, members of the board, quickly if I could before you go on, I want to make sure to publicly thank the budget team that worked on these budgets. As you know, Jackie Gapp, our Director of Accounting, is very heavily involved in working on the budgets. Haley Burns and Patty Richards, 3 CPAs that you have employed in the district. Great team that I get to work with and certainly do a lot of the heavy lifting in putting these budgets together, but also the planning committee. As you know, especially at a time when we do have a deficit, and that means we've got some tough decisions to make. Being able to vet this with the planning committee on a regular basis. We meet more regularly during budget season, as you know, and certainly appreciate your help and feedback in getting that done. So just want to acknowledge our team as well as the work that you guys have done. I get to sit here when this happens and it looks great, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that doesn't have a whole lot to do with me. It has a lot to do with a lot of other people working very hard. So thank you for that opportunity.
And pass along our thanks to your team. Brings us to our next business item, which is the monitoring of GP 4, 5, 9, and 10. I first of all want to thank everybody for participating and getting their homework in. And I see on a report I'm going to hand out shortly that the reward for getting good work done will be more homework. With that, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we accept GP 4, 5, 9, and 10 as prepared.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, Anne Marie, if you'd call the roll, please.
Knutson? Yes. Paulson?
Yes.
Rodenbiker?
Yes.
Ulrich?
Yes.
Ani?
Yes.
Benson?
Yes.
Boyd?
Yes.
Goldenberg?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes. Motion carries. We're on to board reports. As I think everybody is aware of, one of the things I'd asked committees to think about was developing committee work goals. I have a placeholder on the agenda tonight. If your committee has met and has finalized what those goals are going to be, feel free to share them. If not, obviously at our next board meeting or as soon as your committee has had a chance to do that. Don't feel like you have to do them tonight if you don't have them ready tonight. So with that, I'll start with committee liaison and correspondence reports, and we'll start with Brandy.
I did meet with my Discovery and Kennedy schools today. Wonderful things, nothing but wonderful things they're doing over there. Both schools, very impressed. That's all I have.
Christy.
I've been a little busy, and my appointments are coming up for my schools.
David.
Same thing, I haven't met with either of my schools yet, so I don't have a report.
Dinah.
So communications, you want that at the same time. Our committee met for the first time and had a lot of interesting conversation about what our goals should be and the future of what the committee should be. We did a bit of a history lesson of where this committee started and how it's evolved, and I think we're still a work in progress in terms of what our long-term goals are going to be. But one of the pieces, and so you'll have to wait for that excitement, but one of the pieces that was part of our discussion that has always been sort of part of the board discussion is the general visibility of board members in the broader community, and how do we, the two-way street, how are we more visible, and how do we encourage more feedback from our community members, and what would be some useful ways to make that happen. One suggestion that was made by Dr. Schatz was that board members, and we know that we're forever asking board members to do more and more and more, but that as board members' schedule allows, that they consider attending more of the broader community events like chamber events, United Way events, and things of that nature. And so we've asked Anne Marie and Betsy to try and compile a list of things of that sort that might be relevant to board members, so that at least they would have advanced knowledge of those dates and perhaps be able to attend and work them into their schedule. The background, the idea was that at many of these broader community events, there are leaders from all walks of the community, and often casual conversations and meetings at some of these kinds of events give us an opportunity to talk about the school district, to educate people about what's going on within the district, and also learn about what some of our partners might be doing and how we can, who knows, have future partnerships. So it's a good opportunity. So that'll be coming eventually. And our next meeting will be sometime before Thanksgiving, as yet unscheduled, so I think you might be waiting for a little while for your goals. So that's a long communications report. In other business, Jim and I had loads of fun or at least I think we had loads of fun at the CBH Ice Cream Social. A little bit chilly of an evening, but it was a lot of fun. I also attended the board meeting of the Longfellow PTA. It was at Christie's Open House, and two really fun events. One was at South High, if you're not aware, our Fargo Public Schools Teacher of the Year, Leah Jolke, who's a South High ELL teacher, was one of the shortlisted teachers for the honor for Teacher of the Year at the state level. So I guess they make a big deal of the 4 shortlisted, so I just happened to be available to be at that. So that was a lot of fun, and our superintendent from DPI was here, Kirsten Baszler. And I also, she was here for another event on Friday at North High. North High won the NIMSY, is that what it is? National Math Science something for AP. Jeff will tell you details, but I want him to tell you also that North High was the only school in the nation with something, she said, too. You'll know exactly. Anyway, go ahead.
It's the National Math and Science Institute. It's a program that Kirsten wanted to bring to the state. It's a national program. What it is it's a training program for teachers within the AP curriculum to receive advanced training, but it's also opportunity for students to engage in advanced experiences and learning opportunities. Saturdays are involved, and if students participate and actually score 3 or above on their test, they can actually then receive a stipend as a reward, and the teachers also receive some dollars as a reward. And so Fargo North had the highest number of people who increased in the overall number of participants and testing out with the 3 or higher score, and their percentage of increase was higher than any other place in the nation. So that was pretty impressive. But on another note is that the overall AP program in Fargo is incredibly robust, and the teachers that are involved with that, and we do have NIMSY teachers in other buildings, and so that program just continues to soar, and the student achievement levels continue to soar. I mean, when you have students scoring 3, 4, or 5, which is considered passing in that test, at almost a 70 to 80% of the students who take the test, you just don't see school districts have that. So the NIMSY program has been good for us. Andy and the AP teachers at North have really embraced it, and the other schools are also participating, maybe not as fully, but I'm sure that as this continues, they will be. So it's a great, great program. And they were here to celebrate that. Andy does what he calls these 15-minute celebrations, and then Kirsten took the time to come and be part of that too. So anyways, it was good.
Community Development Committee was canceled for September, so I assume we'll be meeting in October. This last weekend, I participated along with Vince Williams. We were 2 people invited from the Fargo Public School District, along with several other area professional leaders who were paired up with New Americans in a program called Narrative 4, which is Narrative 4 Story Exchange, which is a national project that locally is coordinated by Don Duncan at Concordia and Lutheran Social Services. And it was stunning. The police chief of Moorhead, Dave Ebiger, was one of the participants, Kirsten Diedrich, Arlette Preston, Melissa Sobolik, 2 former city commissioners, and it was pretty profound. So that was a great experience. And I've been invited to join the board of YouthWorks. It's a statewide board, and since we, as a school district, participate with that organization, I'm looking forward to that. I will be meeting with my school folks, doing my school visits in October. One cool thing I wanted to report on, you may have seen the press release that 2 musicians were going to be performing in art classes at Discovery. Well, that was Ben Sung, our concertmaster, and his wife, concert pianist Jihei Chang. They both teach at Florida State now, and so we haven't seen Jihei in a while, so they came up, and so they had super high quality musicians in the classroom. And then Ben asked me if we could make some tickets available. So over the course of Saturday and Sunday, I think there were around 18 students and teachers who came to Altered States Symphony Concert. So it was great.
Rebecca.
Okay, last week I attended at South High the DPI's strategic planning group. I was at the tail end of that meeting, but I wanted to stop in to see, just learn what I could about the feedback regarding the session where the public was invited to participate. There were 10 or 15 folks there, and the conversation was good, you know. not a huge number of folks, but the quality of the conversation was good. We also had a Native American Commission meeting last week, and I guess I've talked before about some of the activities that commission has been involved in regarding Savannah's death. And I attended last week, there was at Island Park a community healing event, and I attended and participated in that, and that was very interesting. So if you had a thought or a prayer or something that you wanted to offer up, men and women were offered individual opportunities to participate in their experiences, and they shared as much, they shared as much with the public in terms of those kinds of ceremonies that they have, very spiritual ceremonies that are usually much more private. But just the fact that the community has been so involved in this incident, they wanted to offer up that opportunity, and so they shared as much as they could with us on that. Let's see here. Indigenous Peoples Day is October 9th, and there are going to be activities at Agassiz School regarding that, and there's a Facebook page for that event. It's Indigenous Peoples Day Fargo. If you want to learn more about the activities, I believe that evening or that day will end with a powwow. And let's see. Also, Welcoming Week was last week, and I just went to a variety of those events. One of them had to do with some of the high school students, again, that participated with that Green Card, or the Green Card Voices project. So again, just being able to listen to some of those stories and meeting individuals that participated and the organizer and learning more about that project. And it sounds like there's an entrepreneur book that's going to be coming out. That might be a focus more from entrepreneurs in the Twin Cities, which is where the project kind of got started, but it was interesting to learn more about how that project has been evolving. And I believe that concludes. I went to the committee meetings that I was to attend as well. Thank you.
Okay, so I've reached out to all my liaison schools and am in the process of finalizing dates between their schedules and mine. So hopefully that will be completed in October. GAC met this morning, and so did health insurance this afternoon. So it's been a busy meeting day for me. So I will read you off of some fresh notes here. We talked a little bit in GAC about our goals moving forward and how we can deepen our relationships with the legislators over the next year. And Jolynn will be sending out or resending out the email list that we had from previous years of those of our assigned contacts. And so we can kind of revisit that. We want to, much like Dinah had said in communications, we spent some time talking about where we can participate in events that are already happening rather than inventing a whole, long list of additional things to do or to ask folks to do. And the chamber, Eggs and Issues, things like that were a couple on the list. United Way, State of the Cities, all things that we maybe currently either get announcements for or could sign up for email notifications around and participate in some of those to be active that way. A couple of other ideas that we talked about. Let's see, where on my notes those are written. Breakfast, like we have done in the past. We talked about doing that. We just have to kind of finalize the timing of that. And then future meetings, we're looking at either the first or the third Tuesday of the month, and more to come. We just want to make sure there's no conflicts moving forward. So those were some of the things discussed, as well as interim committees. We took a look at what committees are active right now, and talked a little bit about Higher Education Committee, Education Funding Committee, Education Policy, Human Services Committee, ones to keep an eye on and participate when possible. So that's it for that one. Health Insurance Committee, I had a few things on the agenda this evening. Flu shots are happening right now throughout some of our buildings, and they go on through October. Open enrollment for staff is going to be happening during the month of November. And there will be additional education opportunities for folks around current plan offerings, as well as HSA coming up again in the near future. So that's it.
Super. John?
Thank you. So back on the 14th, Thursday, I attended the United Way kickoff for their campaign season. Excellent event. I was able to attend as one of their emerging leaders. Over the past year, I committed myself to making large enough donations and volunteer time to them, and I'm still just barely young enough to be part of that group. It's really excellent. It was an excellent kickoff. I'm really excited about what the executive director, Christy Huber, and her group are doing with that. Their goal this year, reduce hunger and homelessness, prepare children to succeed, help people be independent, and lift people out of poverty. I think those are 4 really excellent goals. And their fundraising goal is $5.9 million, which they really, really want to hit actually $6 million, $300,000 more than last year. Really great event, really great group. I'm really excited about what United Way is doing in the community. Later that evening, I also dropped by the CBH Ice Cream Social, but got there just a little bit too late, and all the scoops were taken, so I was able to attend as a parent, and shared ice cream with Jack, and actually it was great because I had a lot of really good conversations with the families that were out there with their kids playing in the playground, and that was a nice event, and thank you to the CBH PTA for putting that on, and for the free ice cream. On Monday the 18th, I attended the Fargo Public Schools Development Foundation Open House Fall event over at Blue Stem. Wonderful event. I love our Development Foundation and what they're doing. Just let me, if you'll bear with me, I know we're getting late here, but I want to run through the programs that they had on display there and that they were showcasing that the Development Foundation has been able to fund this year. Starting with closing the achievement gap. The wonderful student wellness and family facilitators received some money from the Development Foundation, and they're using that to supply some basic needs to kids in need in our schools. Basic things like deodorant and what they went through tonight, and referrals into community support services. One table I did not get to because it was very popular, the Discovery Middle School Tech Leaders, led by Rachel Hagen. And what they're doing there is having some of their middle schoolers act as tech support, essentially. So they learn the technology, they're out there supporting it, they're developing those real 21st century skills. Really cool. Of course, Leah Julke was there, and her Journey to America narrative short stories that got turned into the Green Card Voices project, all of that was seeded by the Development Foundation money. Really cool program from Don Bolstad and Renee Schwant. Let's Go to the Red Hawks Experiential Learning. They take some of our kids with developmental needs out into the community and interacting in the community and working on some independent living skills. Last year, a similar grant, they got to go down to the Twin Cities for an event. This year, they went to the Red Hawks. They got to go to the planetarium, and it's a really great opportunity to get those kids out and into our cities. Susan Clark had a couple of really cool things. Little Robot, Big Mission, getting kids excited about coding. Really neat. Some special markers are used to draw certain patterns on paper, and you tell these little robots how to follow those. And it's elementary kids learning how to code at the very essential level, and really learning what is coding, how do computers know what to do. The other thing that she had was breaking into 21st century skills. And it's kind of an escape room in reverse, if any of you have done an escape room. They're really cool. You get locked in a room. You have to figure out these different puzzles to unlock different keys and get out. Well, obviously we don't want to lock our kids into rooms, so we flip that around and we put locks in a box, and they have to figure out what these different clues mean. They have to work together and find the codes, and they open up the box and they find the prize. If you haven't done an escape room, they're wonderful team building events. I love them personally because I'm a puzzle guy, but really excited to see what she's doing there with those things. And I wanted to thank Becky Bakke, the executive director of the foundation. She's doing a great job with that. And especially the couple dozen board members of that development foundation doing really good work trying to get this program out there. I think if what's happening at the Agassi building and the Woodrow Wilson buildings, the best kept secret in Fargo Public Schools, the foundation might be the best kept secret inside of that building. And as we're getting to that time of year where everyone's kind of figuring out their end of year giving, figuring out their giving plans for the next year, I ask you to consider the Development Foundation and the United Way in your plans. They're doing really good foundational, innovative things that are making our communities a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anne Marie was kind enough to produce a president's report for me, which I've passed around. One thing to note on here, if you have not already talked to Anne Marie about your plans regarding San Antonio and the National School Board Association Conference, please do so like soon. Registration opens up on October 18th. She's got to really know, probably by midnight on the 17th, what she's going to do. So please, if you have not figured it out, get it done on your side and share it with her sometime over the next week or two. And there are obviously lots of dates on this little sheet of paper that hopefully are on your calendar, should you choose to want to attend them. But please make sure you've put October 17th down, as we're going to be meeting with the city and parks on that evening. A couple of other things from my report. The Midwest region of the NSBA Board of Directors met in Kansas City. There were really three highlights of what I'd call a lost weekend of my life. This should have been done in Chicago, but we've got some stubborn members of the Midwest region who just think they have to have their own meeting, and so we had our own meeting. Two pretty good people are going to be up on the election platform from our region. Frank Henderson, who's currently a national director, is up for re-election, and we endorsed him again. He's from Kansas. Barb Riley had been on the national board from Montana. She has twice tried to move into the chairs to ultimately become president of the National Association, and twice has been rejected by the nominating committee. So she is going to try a third time, and it's my understanding if the nominating committee does not put her name forward, she is actually going to try to do it from the floor. And the last time somebody got elected to an executive chair at the National School Board Association from the floor was also from Montana. They're renegades. Really the highlight of the whole trip, though, is the hotel we stayed at was also where the visiting team was staying that was playing the Kansas City Chiefs. And unfortunately, that visiting team lost that day, but there was one guy on the team that actually knew what horns and a bison were. So Carson Wentz and I had a brief conversation in the lobby, which was kind of fun. This Thursday, there's an SEEC board meeting at 11:30. I'll be attending at least the first part of that, as I have a conflict at about 1 o'clock that day that is going to pull me out of that board meeting. But we're going to be looking at the annual budget for the SEEC and some structural changes going on over there. Rebecca obviously had attended one of the 4 community meetings that are going across the state for the DPI steering committee strategic vision that they're trying to get put together. The anticipated report will probably come back to those of us on the steering committee from those community engagement meetings probably about a week from now. At least that was the word I got today. And then we will next be meeting, I believe it's the Monday following the state conference in Bismarck, so I can go out to Bismarck, come home, and go back to Bismarck. I've asked her to consider changing that date, and she just looked at me and laughed. So, and that's it for my report. Our next regular meeting will be on October 10th, and at that point in time, I believe we are adjourned.